Good, warm Monday morning from Toronto.
You are a wishful thinker, sir. I love that. Yes. Positivity breaks the ice. Oh,
Okay.
listen, I have a quick joke. So a friend of mine, he's up from Miami. So yesterday we were looking at the weather forecast for today. Yeah. And it was like 1. And he's like, why am I seeing 1? Like, where's the number before it or where's the number after it? It can't be 1. We were just dying of laughter. He was like in total disbelief that the weather can be 1. I was like, first of all, it is Celsius, so I know you're used to 40s, 50s, and 100s, but yes, the 1 is correct. He checked like 4 different weather sites. He's like, no, I have to get verification because why am I only seeing 1?
Oh my goodness. Well, good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Doveman Plus Care, and being part of that team, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world in 2022 and 2021. And as always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. What's up, Ryan?
Yeah, good day, good day. And for those that don't know who Ryan is, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We support entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage their business is in and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. I am also an entrepreneur. I do run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. And even today, we are going to try and see if our products don't freeze. But we have some appointments that got to get done. So we're going to be out there working.
We're looking for sunshine. We're looking for sunshine. So before we go any further, the Monday tradition. This episode of The Morning Vibe is sponsored by the Macmillan Group, providing mortgage solutions one client at a time since 1999. Buying, refinancing, or investing, call them at 905-813-4354 in Canada, US 904-586-5636 in the US. So that is our Monday tradition. Also part of our Monday tradition, we got to make sure we put them up here. Got that. So there's all their contact information. Canada, US, toll free, 866-883. And then the website address, the Macmillan Group Inc., inc.com, and email raycmcmillan@gmail.com. Also, quick apology, a last Friday show at the end, my internet went down. So if people are watching, went, where's Ryan? Where's Dr. Vibe? Where's Ryan? Yes. The internet went down, so we had no control of that. And it's nice to see Ryan properly pixelated today. No freezing, no nothing like that. So that's good. So a few other things. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube. Hit the subscribe and notification button so you get notified. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, follow Ryan on all his travels. I know we're going to get some of his travels in the next few moments. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I host, email me dr.vibe@the.drvibeshow.com. Like the Macmillan Group has been doing at least a year and a half now, every Monday. And then also join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me dr.vibe@the.drvibeshow.com. Ryan, Kente Claus, how are you?
Well, I got to see Kente Claus last night, so during the day. So he was at the Holiday Hope pop-up done by Keep Wealth Melanated. So Jody Ann and Anisha, the duo that runs that store in Woodbine Mall, and also they were doing the Holiday Hope, and it was to support the asylum seekers and do a drive, but also to help vendors. And the holiday season's coming, get a head start on that.
Coming.
There's a debate. When does it officially start?
Look, the holiday season retail-wise was here since Halloween finished.
Exactly. Like while Halloween stuff was up, I'm seeing Dollarama putting up Christmas stuff. So yeah. But they got to again talk to a lot of the vendors, because those that are in the know and follow what I talk about grants and funding, there are 2 active grants right now. One is the Desjardins Good Spark grant, and the other one, the RAISE grant, so Racialized and Indigenous Support for Entrepreneurs. And you might have heard that before.
Who's doing that one?
So it used to be Digital Main Street, and I kept talking about it, and it was paused for a while, and now it's finally reopened. But the Ontario government is doing it directly. So this is a bit of a wrinkle, because applying for grants through the Ontario government can be a very smooth process, or it can be a total train wreck, depending on, because when you create your account, they do automatic checks. So if the automatic check of your business account isn't valid, you have to go through a whole authentication process. So all that to say, there are some grants out there that our business owners need to know about. So definitely stay tuned. This week we're doing workshops and info sessions about them. So yeah.
So we haven't chalked all that. Are we gonna apply for one of these things for the Morning Vibe? Okay.
Yes.
So we have to have we have to have an offline conversation about that, because we need not only in us but through us for you guys to grow this bigger. And actually I had a very interesting chat with Kezia Myers yesterday. For those who may not know that, she is, I guess, the executive director of the Advanced Music Group, which is trying to get more positive impact of Black creators and Black artists. And we're having a good conversation. Actually, she is testifying in front of the CRTC in the next week or two about the importance of a Black-owned radio station.
Okay.
Which is interesting, which goes back to Friday when we were talking, and then Tim Frey was saying how, can't remember the two, I know Mastermind's one of the gentlemen, but another gentleman who now are part of the G98 executive team. And I was doing some reading on that in the yesterday afternoon, and the owner of G98 is a South Asian gentleman.
Right.
And I think Tim was saying that, he was wanting to push the content more of South Asian culture instead of Black culture. So it's interesting.
And that's where it's to be expected based on ownership, right?
Yeah, sure.
This is why it's so important. And what Kezia is going to be doing is so important, because if we don't have that ownership, we can't control the narrative, no matter how it started. And God rest his soul, Mr. G, where he launched, and of course this goes all the way back to Denim Jolly owning Flow 93.5 and then 98.7 with Mr. G. That allowed the culture to come through the radio station. And then as soon as it gets sold, I mean, has anybody tuned into 93.5 recently? It is, I think it's a country station.
Wow.
It's completely
okay. So people may have, when Denim Jolly's name was put, people may have asked, like, why Dr. Vine did put this up? Well, I had mentioned recently he just had a park dedicated in his name, which is like 10 minutes drive from where I live, and that is one of a piece of the ribbon from the ribbon cutting ceremony. So I keep this as an encouragement of the hard work he and others, our elders, have done in regards to doing what they can to make life better, not only in them or for them, but through them.
Right.
So I have that. So there's a few quick things we got to do. So I know I'm not doing this to tease you, Ryan, so I'm just going to do something really quick.
Baby.
right, it starts today.
It's time.
Ryan, are you going to behave yourself?
That's between me and God. We shall have a conversation about my behavior with food this week. It shall be a secret. Except we are going to find a couple days to invite people to join us for lunch. So I'm going to be mapping out different restaurants that we want to go try. So if you want to come with us and eat some food, definitely check it out. But yes, as you said,
my water is right at my feet.
Have you found any plant-based restaurants that are participating that you'd want to try?
I don't know as of yet. Actually, going to be part of today's media launch. It's happening at Sugarcane.
Yes.
So I can only go for about half an hour, 45 minutes. So I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be there actually early. Say hello to whoever's there, and I go because I got to be back at the residence because I do have to facilitate an online session at 8 p.m. tonight. So, I looked at Sugarcane's menu last night. They only have like one or two things that are veggie plant-based. So I may cheat a little bit tonight, but I don't have anything planned for the rest of the week. But I know Roger's going to call me up. So I'm going to say, Carolyn, don't look.
All right.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Yes,
we'll see. So everyone, this week, right, 20th to 26th November, 2023, there's the website address. Support Black Russians. Not only just this week, but all year round. Okay?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. And just program alert. Coming up this Friday. Ooh, interesting show. Tamari Katosa, who was on a few months ago and got a lot of great reaction. He was originally supposed to come on and talk about his book. That didn't happen. But now he's going to come back about his book that covers Black men's sexuality and erotic racism. So we have him coming on. We have two of the contributors of the book, one gentleman in the States, another gentleman in England.
Okay.
So we're going to have all three of them on. I will make sure that you have the parts that you need to just gloss over for Friday's conversation, but very excited about that conversation. So that's what's coming up this Friday. We're going to get to our guest moment, but we got to shout out. Well, people are in the house already. Yeah. All right. Frequency Event Promotions. How it goes, Dr. Vibe and Ryan Knight? We good.
Good to see you.
Also, they say we had the pleasure of seeing both of you this past weekend. Keep up the great work. Yes, I saw Christopher at the Champion U networking launch and event on Saturday. It was great. Danny Stone, Love Mayor Cher McLaughlin, and Nicole. Yes, Victory Speaks, Nicole Waldron. So that was great. Good morning, gents. Elemental Notes, and great to see you. Chad C, good morning, man. Absolutely. Morning, Fitness IQ Cam. So are you going to be monitoring us over this week? Because I know she's always asking, what's Ryan? Ryan's not cheating. Ryan's cheating. So go call. You got Ryan's number. Call him. Like I'm the guru. Come on now. Yes. So, KSEYLRWFQ. Yes, you are here. Divine Right. Good morning, everyone from the DMV. Ryan, hold strong. You got this.
All right. Hey, I'm going to map out the plant-based restaurants. There needs to be more.
Opal Inspired with her growing YouTube community. Good morning.
Nice.
It's a secret. I guess, yeah, his eating habits are secret. And Opal Inspires broken 100 followers on YouTube. Fantastic. Dr. Tachi. Good morning, all. Fantastic, Dr. Tachi. Good to have you. And actually, I got to speak with you this week. I figured out over the last few days a process for providing content to you, to Indie Soup Media, that will be easier. So it was actually one of my team members asked me about something. I said, oh, I got to look at that. So it's going to make it easier as her network gets closer to launch. And Fitness IQ goes, hello, and good morning, all. Yes, buy blacks this week. So Roger will be seeing you in a few hours. So looking forward to it. So this is exciting. And we got a pile of people already in the house, which is amazing. So maybe it's because in the GTA it's so cold, people don't want to go outside.
Yes.
And Divine Right says, I'm ordering folks dinner over here and making myself a big salad. I'm not going to eat my turkey and haven't eaten chicken. You haven't eaten chicken over 3 years?
Right.
What? I eat chicken once a week, but Divine Right's putting down the gauntlet. What?
Absolutely.
And good morning to Ray McMillan. Good morning, gentlemen. To a successful week all. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, man, you guys you're gonna have good fun today. I think everyone's gonna learn a little bit of something today because we've got a new friend to the morning show family, but not to myself. So let me just do a quick little intro because her bio long, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Today we have Manifa Brooks. She's a co-founder and principal of Garabyte Consulting. Garabyte Consulting works with companies to build programs and processes to protect personal data. So anyone who deals with data online, even personally, just for your own personal use, or if you're a solopreneur, small entrepreneur, medium-sized entrepreneur, business company, this is a conversation that you need to be listening to, and you may want to replay. We also want to make sure that you ask questions.
Nice. Yes.
Lots of questions, because we're going to bring her on. She's going to share a little bit of a background, but then she's going to talk about the importance of data privacy awareness and training. So especially awareness is one thing, but if you have a team, the importance of having them trained is important. So say you're an entrepreneur and you hire consultants. Do you give them access to personal data? Do they have access to personal data? What happens if they compromise your data? Right? Even if you're a solopreneur and you're running your own business, are you selling stuff online to people? Data privacy, compromise, etc., etc. So without any more ado, the guests of the day, the guests of the hour, Manifa Brooks, the lady who was going to jog outside this morning and say, "It's too darn cold out for me," is in the house. Good morning.
Good morning. And yes, today's temperatures gave me a slight change of heart about how I wanted to do my exercise.
Yes.
But there's nothing wrong with exercising at home, so that's where it'll be until we see spring temperatures again.
Fair enough.
Right.
Yeah.
More than fair. So before we get into it, can you share a little bit of background about yourself?
Absolutely. And thank you again so much for having me on today. So as Dr. Vibe mentioned, my name is Manifa Brooks, and I am the co-founder of Garabyte, which is a data privacy consulting company. We consider ourselves a boutique agency that's really focused on providing tailored solutions for organizations that want to grow their privacy program or create a privacy program. We believe that privacy should be something that's built in by design, which is one of the reasons why we focus on small to medium-sized organizations, so that we can get you the right tools from the beginning so that they can scale with you as your organization grows. My background includes working in data privacy, working in consumer regulations, as well as doing process improvement for organizations and understanding kind of how end-to-end what that customer journey looks like and improving on opportunity for your user.
Okay, so people, this is going to be, so you already have a supporter here. Stacy Brown says Manifa is an expert in this industry.
Okay, excellent.
All right, also check who we got chiming in today. Rustam Southwell is here.
Whoa, good to have you.
Gosha. All right, this is good stuff. And well, back to the eating thing for a second. Divine Right says, "Yep, my body started rejecting chicken in spring 2020, and I had to stop eating it. I honestly don't miss it." All right, food done. So Manifa, people may not say, "Oh, does she have the chops?" Tell them some of your, like, you worked for a rather big company. You don't have to give their name. It's up to you. But you worked with a major, let's say, a telecommunications company for a long period of time in this space, correct?
Absolutely. So working in telecom for over 17 years and supporting data privacy for that company for just under 10, from a regulatory perspective, as well as the consumer perspective, supporting end-to-end data privacy. So this includes everything from privacy breaches, creating policies, procedures, doing training, working with regulators to address complaints and supporting the investigations to either identify what are the root causes and what went wrong, or explain how and why we believe we are complying with the regulations as drafted. So I have
Okay, Ryan's already got a question there.
I have for an organization, but then also stepping outside of that, from a Garabyte perspective, with my own company that Susie and I run. We've been supporting companies not only here in Canada, we also support companies globally that are having offices in the UK, in New York, overseas in the Pan-Asian region. So we're not only working with Canadian regulations at the federal and provincial level, we're also working with regulations such as like the GDPR, working with the California regulations. And then there's a multitude of countries and states that are also coming up with their own regulations that we've been helping companies navigate to understand, okay, where are you right now when it comes to your own maturity and your own privacy programs, and what needs to change or what needs to be more robust in order to make sure that you're not going to be hit with some of the hefty fines that are coming out of these new regulations as well.
So Ryan, I know you've got a question. So the lineup has already started because Wayne Harris already has questions. So you go first in line because you're here.
Right. So the difference that you see from working with corporate and then working with small business, like I'll say big business, the 17 years, and then what's that main difference you see how they approach privacy and data?
So I would say, and this was a big shocker that I had maybe about a month ago, we were working with a small organization that's in the not-for-profit sector. And we had done a privacy impact assessment with them. We had identified what are your risks, what are the areas that you need to improve on. And that meeting went so smooth. They were just like, oh my goodness, thank you for pointing this out. And we talked about how they can go about mediating some of those risks and getting things up and properly running to make sure that they're compliant before launch. Yeah. It was the smoothest meeting I have ever had with a client, both like when I think about my experience working in-house and how it just felt like such a fight all the time where I'm like, okay, guys, we need to do this, or we need to just tweak this way. No, why do we have to do that? Wow. What's going to be the penalty if we don't do this? I don't believe you. I need a second opinion here. I don't think we have to do it this way.
Whoa, right.
It's such a different experience.
Yeah.
I would genuinely say a lot of times when we're working with some of these smaller organizations, they're just so thankful that you've pointed out what are their risks and not just like telling them, okay, you can't do it this way, but how can we go about doing what we need to do and meeting our objectives, but in a compliant way? And they're just so appreciative of that. It ends up being a partnership, which is what you want to have when you think about data privacy. Like my job is to help you be innovative, but also make sure that you don't get fined, right? Like I'm not just here to tell you all the things you can't do. I'm here to tell you how you can do the things you want to do, but in a way that's not going to have you get penalized, right? Like nobody wants to have their program investigated by a regulator. Nobody wants to be the top headline. Like I highly doubt that Mark Zuckerberg is having any fun right now being called to task by every regulator around the world, right? Nobody wants that. Whoa. So it's great to actually work with companies who are receptive to understanding, okay, like we're actually trying to help you. This is the way that you can do it in a way that you're still meeting your business objectives, but no one's going to like investigate you at the end of the day. And your customers are going to trust you because they know you're doing the right thing.
And is the pushback?
Keep on going, Ryan. We're going to go on break. We're going to go to break. We're going to go on break after this part because the questions are live. Wayne Harris is in the house. Ray McMillan's in the house. So once they get going, we ain't going to let a word in. So get your stuff in now.
Well, I was curious, is the pushback because doing the extra work is going to like cost them more money or just take more time? Like, where's that restrict? Like,
so one of the things that we definitely see in terms of pushback is the fact that being privacy compliant costs money, right? Like, you think what's best in class versus, okay, what's the bare minimum that I have to do? Best in class costs money. And you don't necessarily see that return on investment immediately when it comes to dollars and cents. And, when I think about big corporations, most big corporations anyways are about what's that bottom line? What's the minimum I can put out that's going to get me the maximum return on what I have spent? And the reality is privacy is not going to be a quick win. It's not going to be the thing that gets you the money immediately, but it is going to be the thing if done properly. When you think over time, you're going to build a solid foundation with your customers who are going to trust you. And then again, they'll spend more money with you. But also, if you think about it, if you do just the bare minimum, your likelihood of being impacted by either a breach or, again, making a headline that nobody wants when they talk about how you've misused customer data, that does have an immediate setback in terms of who are the customers who are going to spend their money with you if they can't trust how you're using their information or how you're protecting their information. So it's hard to draw that comparison when you're trying to explain to business owners why, especially in a large corporate setting, why they need to do this very hefty spend right now in the short term, when you can't really quantify for them what they're going to be getting back on that investment, because it's not the same as a marketing campaign where you can say, okay, you know what, you spend X amount and then you're going to see X amount return because you know that it's gotten visibility to this number of customers. It's not the same type of investment, but it does have a longer term reward. And trying to explain that to companies who have shareholders that they need to satisfy isn't always the easiest task.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to stop it for now because as you see, it's already going. If you're in the it's already got crazy. So I would say get in the queue for questions. I'm saying get in the queue. So we're going to take a 90-second break and come back. And then the questions are going to be going. So Manifa, you're good?
I am fantastic.
All right. So we'll be back in 90 seconds. Here we go.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the, just people that, don't always represent the best of us, the diversity, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like, everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. What is up, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia? So they are supporters of what I do, and I support what they do because they want Blacks to be better. So we are back, and as I said, more comments came in even during the last 90 seconds. So
okay, hold on. Before we dig into those questions, I'm very just curious.
Oh, here we go.
What drew you into data and privacy? Because it's such on the surface, it can be such a boring field when you talk about it, but you seem so passionate, like you're glowing talking about data and privacy.
Yeah, she's so passionate, isn't she?
It's it's not boring hearing it from you. So I'm so curious what.
So before we go any further, got the IG family watching some of this. We have Manifa Brooks, co-founder and principal of Garabyte Consulting on the Morning Vibe. We're talking about the importance of data privacy awareness and training. So Manifa, what gets you geeked about data privacy?
So in fairness, I think I have a very nerd-like personality to begin with. So, spending the time, I watch for fun. I have been watching CPAC because our federal government right now is doing a review of the state of privacy regulations in Canada. So Bill C-27 is before committee right now. And I spend a good 2 to 3 hours per week watching the committee sessions, listening to our MPs, as they question the speakers and everything like that to hear about, their thoughts on the proposed bill. But these are the things that fascinate me when I think about how our laws and regulations are even made. I know I don't think very many people would have a good time, getting a cup of tea and sitting down to watch CPAC. But, if you ever find yourself with a good, at least hour and a half to spare, sometimes you really just got to watch our regulators. It's really fascinating.
Yes.
And, for me, it's just, again, a good portion of my job really is just reading, because you have to stay up to date on what's happening, not just here in Canada, but you need to know what's happening around the world, because the way that regulations are shaped elsewhere does have an impact on how we're doing business here in Canada, because at the end of the day, we're a global economy, right? If you're a company that maybe you only operate here right now, you might be thinking one day about expanding into the US or expanding into the EU. So you have to stay on top of what's going on everywhere. And for me, that rather, that sounds like a good Friday night to me right there. So
okay. All right. So let me just interrupt. I'm going to just shout out some people on Instagram. Halfway in the Sky Woman. The topic today is data privacy and data training with Manifa Brooks of Garabyte. So that's what the subject is. Tamara _Jordan _001 and Van Sleeger. Hey, thanks for joining in. Mr. Gospel Cafe, thank you so much. Van Sleeger, happy Thanksgiving. Well, we celebrated here in Canada in October, so happy Thanksgiving to you because you're in the US. But data privacy, and if you have any questions for Manifa, if you're on IG, type them in and I will get her to answer them. Now the fun begins. Here we go. So we'll get to the comments because you seem to have a huge fan club. Then we got questions. So first things first, Kwame.com. You're right. Manifa is an expert.
Nice.
Also, Samantha Francis, this young lady is very intelligent and well-spoken. She's clearly shedding light on an area I wouldn't have think of. I now have a lot to think of. Thank you, Manifa. I hope, Samantha, you're still here because you may want to contact her. Right, and then Sophia Jacobs from Ottawa. Morning. Super delighted to see Sister Manifa in this field. There needs to be more Black folks in the cyber data and information space. Cheers to you, Manifa. And then last comment before the questions. Yo, that's my mom. So Jalen's in the house.
Love it.
All right. Is that Jalen who drove back?
That is Jalen who drove back to Ottawa last night. So he's out bright and early to make sure he watches his mom.
All right. This is good. So let's start with the questions. And the first one is from someone I introduced you to, thankfully.
Yes,
good morning, all. Privacy is a big deal in Canada, but even more so in other. Does Canada have the proper legislation in place to truly enforce breaches? Are companies here really concerned?
So in my opinion, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to both. When I think about the current state of our regulations, we are falling behind. We still have PIPEDA at the federal level, and it's far outdated. So that's the one that's currently being revamped. So we have Bill C-27, which will replace that. And it takes what I would consider to be a good first step in the right direction. It has gone through enough, I would say, consultation with all impacted parties. You need to have more consultation with private sector organizations to make sure that you're putting in place something that protects consumers, but that can actually be operationalized. This right here is what I think is the biggest challenge for all companies in this space, is that there's a lot of people providing advice, but none of it can be operationalized. And if I can't put it into practice, who cares? You're just spitting out words if it can't actually be put into practice, and it means nothing to anybody. And one of the examples that I'll give you, I believe that you should have consent before you are using people's information, whether that is express or implied. However, I do think that we have to take time to think about what that consent model really looks like. In a discussion that I had with my own family members yesterday, we were talking about, okay, like if you've just, purchased an online game or something and they're presenting all these long terms of service and privacy policies to you, are you really reading through them before you go and play your game, or are you just clicking through so that you can get to your game? And then if you actually were to take that time to sit and read the language, does it make sense to you? Or do you have to tap somebody in to come and interpret that for you before you can actually use it? So right now, our regulations say that you must inform people of how you're using their information, which is why you'll see these 16-page documents that are presented to you. But what does that mean to the person who's actually being asked to use their information? It doesn't mean anything to them because they don't understand it. So if we're going to be thinking about how we operationalize consent, we need to rethink how we're presenting that information to the person that it matters to. It's great that the organization has checked a box because they've got this fancy document, but what does it mean to the person who's actually just given over their information? Until we can get that right, I think none of the other things matter, right? Because again, even if we look at what's the primary purpose for using your information versus any secondary uses for your information, if I say, yes, you can use my email to contact me because I've now taken a service from you. So you need to be able to bill me. You need to be able to make sure that if there's any interruptions in my service that I can be notified. That's my reason for giving you my information, right? Because we have a service relationship. Right. But now if you're going to want to use that information for analytics and your own company development and reporting so that you can, I don't know, better understand what other services you might want to sell me, that's a whole different ballpark. And I might not want you using my information to enrich your organization. I want you to use my information to fulfill the service that we have together, but I might not want you using it to monetize my information as an example. And should I have an option on how and when you can monetize my information? And in order for you to get my consent to do that, again, is it just going to be buried in your terms of service in a way that I don't understand? But, you know, when I think back to what's happening with even the discussion around our regulations right now, the Trudeau government has said multiple times, so the minister has mentioned several times that he consulted with approximately 300 or so organizations. I've been watching very diligently as this proceeding has been, you know, going through committee. And every single one of those expert witnesses, when asked the question by the MPs, were you consulted? The answer is no. So my question to the government is, you've put together this bill, you say that you have consulted with industry experts. So what experts did you consult with who are not appearing before the committee? Right now, it seems like you haven't actually consulted anybody. You just put together something that is copy and paste from, you know, what are you seeing in the highlights from the EU? What are you seeing in the highlights from California? What are you seeing in the highlights from Singapore? But you've not actually consulted anybody here in Canada to understand, does any of this make sense for how we are operating and doing business here? And can those things actually be operationalized?
So do you think she's in it? You think she's into this? Do you think she's into this?
As soon as you said CPAC, I was like, yeah, she's in it. Okay. People don't, hold on, just for reference and context, people don't know what CPAC is, because I bet you, no reason
you would never watched it. Yeah, you wouldn't know what CPAC is.
I know what
it stands for Canadian Public Access Channel. So it literally shows the parliamentary House of Commons and the proceedings. And that's not all. The committee meetings, where I can't even stomach the committee meetings. I'll watch the House, but the committee meetings is like,
the committee meetings is where the drama is really happening. Okay?
So people need to tune in if they need to want to know what's happening.
They have something comparable in the U.S. I don't know what the network is called, but they have a similar channel in the U.S. And if you want to see what's really going on, you watch those channels. Okay, more.
I think it's C-SPAN.
C-SPAN. You're right. C-SPAN. You're correct. Okay. So some more areas of endorsement here. Chrissy Lewis says, I watched Manifa's last interview that was on Black Canada Talking. Very informative. She is very well spoken. She got me to finally change up my passwords. LOL.
Yay!
All right. Chrissy also said she needs to be a regular if she wants to be. Okay. In the house, Dr. Tachi, yes. So you mean C-SPAN? Yes. So Dr. Tachi, what is up? Host of Mediascope, livest program about media, tech, and pop culture on the digital waves Saturdays. Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram, then 6 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube. Got that right. And Dr. Chai is saying this information is superb, and that's coming from a lady who has her PhD in communications from Howard University. So, Dr. Chacha, do you want her on Mediascope one evening? I can make that happen if you want. There's questions on Instagram. There's questions on the platform here. This is good stuff. All right, let me go next to Halfway in the Sky Woman. When it comes to data privacy, this is on Instagram. How can we trust in the privacy when it's often sold to unscrupulous marketers?
Yeah, and right there is exactly what I was talking about when it comes to secondary purposes. A lot of organizations, once they actually have your data. So if we look at Facebook as an example, Facebook is sold as being a free platform, and they're sold as being a free platform because at the end of the day, they want to know everything there is to know about you. They're making profiles about you as an individual. They're also using your data in an aggregated format with other people who might look or have similar attributes to you so that they can create what are called profiles. And then they use those profiles to sell to for marketing purposes so that companies can access that information and know what kind of ads that they need to present to you so that you are likely to purchase that information. When I think about if you are on, and I hate to keep picking on Facebook, but they're the one that comes to mind right now. But if you are on Facebook, you might see an ad for, you might see an ad for shoes. And then you could go to another platform and you might see that ad continue to follow you. And that now that ad might be a little bit more lucrative. Whereas, initially it was just telling you, oh, you could buy shoes here. But okay, you didn't click then. So now that you've gone to another website, you see the same ad, but now they're offering you a 10%. So maybe as you're scrolling through, you hover a little bit longer now because you're seeing that 10%, but you still didn't click yet. But as you're on another website, oh my goodness, it's the same shoe company. And now they're offering me 20%. Click, 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 click. Now they know even more about you. So it takes roughly three chances before you'll actually go ahead and click. Because, maybe the first time it caught your eye and you hovered a little bit and then you hovered a little bit longer. But the 20% mark is where you're finding like, okay, this is my trigger point. All of this is because they're trying to monetize your information. So when I think about what privacy regulations need to change, we need to change what are how people are able to use information for secondary purposes. We should have more control over what platforms are presenting ads to us and what platforms are using our information for monetizing purposes, right? Right. I don't want you to take every time I have purchased something online to create a profile about me so you can continue to try to sell me things. Home Depot got in trouble for that the other day because if you had been in a Home Depot store and had chosen to have your receipts emailed to you, that information was going back to Facebook and it was being monetized. Wow. But people did not know that simply by putting in your email to have the receipt emailed to you, that information was going to be used, right? Because if I bought a hammer at Home Depot, now Facebook knows, okay, she bought a hammer. Let's see if we can sell her a toolbox.
Yes. Right. But is that where is it difficult to challenge companies because being able to use that information allows them to make more money? And then that is what they're reporting to their shareholders to say like, hey, because we've now improve the way that we learn about clients, we can now increase the bottom line. Is that typically their argument with not wanting to tell people? And I guess they should still tell people.
A lot of these companies make is that we're offering these things because people want them. And the reality is, yes, there are a lot of people who do want tailored advertising. Okay, as an example, if I bought diapers once because I am buying a gift for a baby shower, I don't want you to assume I have a child and start marketing all kinds of random things to me. I don't have small children. Stop offering me diapers. I bought it once for a baby shower. But at the same time, I know for me, I don't enjoy tailored advertising because I don't enjoy the predictive models. I don't like the insinuations. Frankly, I'd like to be left alone. There was a comment in the chat in regards to VPN. When I browse online, I do use a VPN. I have a VPN for all my personal devices because I don't think that I should be stalked online by marketers, right? Leave me alone. I actually prefer to shop in store. With all of that being said, there are a lot of people who do prefer targeted advertising because they only want you to show them things that make sense for them. And I think that's fantastic. Ultimately, all it comes down to is choice. People should have the choice of what's being presented to them, when and how is your information being used.
Right, absolutely.
All right. So next question here from Ray McMillan. About a decade ago in my industry, we were advised to send email consents to our client base for consent to email marketing once the privacy issue became a quote thing, unquote. What is the protocol today?
Yeah, so that actually hasn't changed. And here in Canada, that would reference to our Canadian anti-spam legislation. In order to communicate with people using email or any digital channels, when it comes to an inbox type format, you do need to have express consent. The only way that you can get around that is if somebody has purchased your product. So as an example, if I have signed up for Netflix, Netflix has to have my email because they need to be able to bill me. So they can communicate with me electronically specifically for like informational purposes. But if you want to market to me, you do have to get my express consent to market to me by email. There's a lot of stores that I have actually seen do this incorrectly, and it ties back into the whole thing around privacy training and awareness. A lot of times now when you go into retail stores, the sales agents, as they're ringing you up at the cash, they'll say, oh, can you enter your email? They don't explain to you why they're asking you for your email. What is the information going to be used for? You're not sending me the bill because you just printed me the receipts. You're asking me for my email because you intend to use it for marketing purposes, but you've not explained that to people, right? And your employees, if they don't know why they need to explain that to people, I believe it was Party City. Was it Party City? Who had gotten in trouble for it before, because again, like you're taking, no, it was Gap. You're taking people's email addresses at the register, but you're not explaining to them how that information is going to be used. You can't just start marketing to people without actually having their consent. And you have to give people the ability to opt out. But again, if you haven't trained your employees properly, they don't know what they need to be saying. They're just trying to get through to the next transaction. Why? Because there's a long line at the register.
And so now they're told this is protocol.
Email, right? Yeah, they're just being told that they need to capture email addresses.
Yeah.
They're not being explained why. And they're also not being explained what are some of the penalties. Although the fines under the Canadian anti-spam legislation are not huge when we think about, other countries in the world and what their fines are, but there are fines for non-compliance with this, and they are being enacted, right? So again, it's a small thing, but if you could just tell your employees why they're collecting email addresses and what they need to make sure that they're explaining, that could avoid being fined and be investigated by the CRTC.
Okay, this is so cray this morning. This is great because it's a way to wake people up on Monday morning without going outside in the cold in Toronto. Get you warm. We're chatting with Monifa Brooks, co-founder and principal, Garibay Consulting on the Morning Vibe. We're talking about data privacy awareness and training. So questions are coming all over the place. So I have Colin, who I met for the first time on Saturday at the Champion U meetup. Also, Lovemore Style Coaching. Good morning. Matt Storm is here, and in the city is here. Okay, so Colin, you have a question. So speak loud so Monifa can hear you. So go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, how do you safeguard yourself, your information from companies who want to use your information for advertising?
So it's interesting, and I think that's a great question. So thank you so much, Colin. Wayne just put in the chat as well. He's like, if you don't pay for the product or the app, then you are the product, essentially. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of companies who, even if they are charging you for service, are still trying to monetize your information. But I think the most important thing to always ask yourself is, what information is being collected from me, and is it necessary? Right? So again, there's a lot of companies who, as far as I'm concerned, are over collecting information and are also retaining that information for longer than is required, right? Exactly. Like Dr. Vibe and I have had this conversation a lot. So definitely check. Why are you asking me for the information? Have you clearly articulated what is that relationship between what you are collecting from me. If you're asking me for my driver's license as an example, what are you using it for? If you want to know my social insurance number, what are you using it for? How is that information being stored, and how long are you storing that information? If I sign up for telecommunications here in Canada in a postpaid type of service, they're going to complete a credit check on me, right? So they're going to ask me for my ID so that they can complete that credit check. Once you've completed that credit check, are you still storing my information? Because you told me that the reason you were collecting it was to do the credit check. So the credit check's over, I've passed, I now have service. Why do you still have the information, right? So those are things that you need to think about when you're entering any type of service relationship. And back to Wayne's point, if you have a free service, whether it be Instagram, Snapchat, any of those things, the reality is they've asked you for information because they plan to monetize it. You are the product. So that, like, they're really, the only way to safeguard your information, unfortunately, is to not use those platforms. And that's actually another thing that's being reviewed. Not so much here in Canada, but it is the discussion right now over in the EU as far as the GDPR is concerned, because it shouldn't be a zero-sum game. It shouldn't be, if I don't want to give you my information so you can monetize it, that means I can't use your platform. So now there's actually, and I believe it's the Irish commissioner who's looking at this through Facebook, where they are going to implement a version of Facebook that is the free platform where you have the opportunity to opt in to marketing or opt out of marketing. And then there's going to be a paid platform where they won't be monetizing your information. So that's still something that's being reviewed over in the GDPR, just to figure out exactly what that will look like. But it shouldn't be a zero-sum game where if you can't monetize my information, then I can't use your service. Like, what does that actually look like? And if I'm the company who's like, my whole model is based on monetizing your information, I can't monetize it. Realistically, I also can't afford to provide you this free service anymore either, right? I mean, look at the battle that Elon Musk has with the Twitter, former Twitter platform, now X platform, right? Like, in order to make money to keep that platform alive, you need to be able to monetize, right? Like that's the whole basis of keeping that platform available. But at the same time, if he can't get all the marketers on board because, you know, he's changed the way that the platform moderates content, then how do you keep the platform alive while still making sure that you are, you know, protecting free speech, giving people options, but also protecting privacy and giving people true choice over how their information is used? Because if 50% of the people on your platform say, I don't want you monetizing my data, is the platform even viable anymore?
All right.
And that's coming from me, someone who believes in protecting information.
Colin, anything else you want to add? Because we got other questions that are coming. Is that good for you?
Yeah, one more thing. Is it smart to have your information attached to your email? Because I know when you have a Facebook account, it shows a bunch of your information, and that's how they can actually use your information to advertise what you look at on Facebook.
Yeah, so all these platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. So when you sign up initially, it doesn't provide you all the preferences. You do have to go into your settings. And you have to drill deep to find these settings, rather unfortunately, but they all have been forced to have settings where you can toggle on and off just how much of your information they can access. As an example, if you use these devices on your phone, whether or not they have access to your camera, your photos, whether they have access to your microphone so that they can listen to you. And believe me, that is something that they do, again, not because they're curious about your business, but because they want to hear, are you talking about shoes? Are you talking about a jacket? Are you talking about a trip? Are these things that we can sell to you? So by going into your preferences, you are able to have a little bit more control over exactly what information they can access through your devices and through your profiles. You know, are you linking them fully to your email account in terms of them having access to your contact lists and things along those lines? So you do have control over that in your preferences. It will not eliminate all marketing that will be done on your profile, but it does give you a little bit more control over just how much of your information they can have.
All right, Colin, that's a wrap because we got a lot of people in line. All right, my brother? Okay, no problem. Thanks a lot. You have a great day. Great questions. All right.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get back to the more, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep this on IG, so I'm going to encourage you now. If you're not, go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, subscribe so you can catch the rest of the conversation, because I'm not going to put all of the rest of this up. I like my YouTube analytics. Thank you very much. So maybe for another few minutes, Manifa, are you good to go past the top of the hour? Because there's still a lineup of questions for you.
I am, and I can always take the questions that I haven't been able to answer on the live and provide responses for you.
So let's update on Kishwana. I hope I get that right. If it's not right, it's my head, not my heart. This information is very informative. A lot of us are blind to this information. Yeah, absolutely. Wayne Harris. If you don't pay for the product or app, you are the product that was mentioned.
Yes.
Claire Brown goes, always we need to know why are they collecting the information. Also, Hayton Morrison, regular. Manifa, your prices, and I'm so glad you look like me if they monetize my private info. Okay. Is that okay? It also says, if companies monetize my private info, should I get a percentage of the money? Interesting.
That's actually a really great question. And it is something that has come up a lot throughout a lot of the different proceedings that I've been watching, not just here in Canada, but abroad. The question is, if companies are monetizing my information, and should I be getting a percentage? And right now, the answer is no. You're not getting anything. What they believe that what they're providing you is the free platform, and as far as they're concerned, that's good enough.
Okay. Also, Kwame, as Manifa mentioned before, Manifa, can you advise? Okay, you know what? I'm going to get to. There's other questions before that one, so there's that many. So another question from Ray. We see emails being captured once we visit a website. As a business owner, am I breaching any laws by capturing these email addresses without prior consent, or is it the visit to my website consent? Good question.
Great question. And I would have to see exactly how your website is configured. But if you have on your website where people can sign up to get a newsletter, as an example, and you've got the right consent language there, then that would be accurate. That's good. But if people have simply jumped onto your website because they're looking for something and you are now emailing them marketing information, no, that would not be compliant with the way our laws are drafted. There are retail platforms online, as an example. Maybe I had started shopping, but in order for me to start shopping, I had to create a profile. And that profile says, if you don't check out, so maybe I put something in my cart, but I didn't actually check out. I've now just, I lost interest, something's going on in the kitchen, I gotta go. I might get an email later on that tells me, hey, you forgot something in your cart. Did you want to click on this link and you can go to checkout? But that would be based on having created the profile, and someplace in their terms of service at the bottom, it would have said that they will contact me about anything in my cart. But again, without that actual language, no matter how deep it's buried in their terms of service, it would not be compliant if you're just emailing me for marketing purposes simply because I've been on your website.
All right. Some more questions here. Oh, no, comments. Sorry. Dr. Tachi says this information is superb. Also, Chrissy Lewis is already looking into my alleged mind. She needs to be a regular.
Right. Yes.
All right. I'm going to stop this on Instagram. So sorry, Instagram people.
Yeah, come over to YouTube.
Come over to YouTube, subscribe, and see the rest. And also, we'll be putting this part of this conversation on Instagram on my feed in a little bit, and it'll direct you to the link where you can watch the whole replay. So as always, remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless, peace, well, keep the faith, walk good. Go over to YouTube. Bye. All right, more questions. Wayne Harris is back, saying there are many risks when a breach occurs. One of them is reputational. Why would a large company work with your firm versus a big four?
So for me, and thank you, Wayne, I think that one of their reasons for wanting to work with us would be because we can help them operationalize end to end what your response needs to be if you have a breach. However, with that being said, I know I actually don't want to work with any of the large companies when they have a breach, and I'll tell you why. The reason most of these companies end up in that situation is because they aren't willing to invest in the things that they actually need to. I don't want to put my efforts and time into patchwork for organizations that aren't willing to actually do what they need to be preventative. It's great that we can plug the holes once things happen, but if you're also not willing to take preventative measures, then I got to be honest, I would decline that partnership anyways. But in regards to why they should want to work with us, it's because we can help you not just with your customer journey experience, we can help you with the regulatory piece. We can work with all of the different business units that need to come together from a data governance, cybersecurity perspective to make sure that not only are we closing, and putting a nice big bow on the actual issue itself, but now taking a look at what are the additional measures that need to be implemented so that we can address this at a root cause level and actually get proactive. So not only are we closing this gap, but making sure that future gaps are also prevented. So that's why companies should want to work with us. But again, if you're going to be the organization that only wants to plug the immediate holes and continue to play whack-a-mole, I'm going to have to kindly say no, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I love that. Before we go into any further, Ryan, any more comments or questions? Because there's still more to come. So I want
to feel free. Go ahead.
No, because I love this. Because Ryan and I are just steering the ship. The families are driving the ship, and Monifa is giving. So let's go to our next little comment here. We got to give up. Oh, Kwame.com says, can you advise the role of a VPN and how that helps?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kwame, and a great question. VPN is actually one of the things that I do tell a lot of solopreneurs to make sure that they have, especially in this age where we're all working from home, right? Like, well, most people are working from home in some capacity or working remotely. So you could be working from anywhere. You want to make sure that your network connection is safe and that you have the ability to actually provide some level of protection for yourself and the data as it's being transmitted from your own device and over the network. So a virtual private network is one of the things that does significantly help with that. And I also tell people, I recommend pairing your VPN with some type of like virus or antivirus security feature to make sure that you have both of those things running in parallel. When we think about, pretty much every website now you go to, there's like a cookie policy and, it's telling you, okay, we're going to be tracking this, we're going to be tracking that, we're going to be tracking that. A VPN is also one of the things that helps minimize the companies' abilities to monitor you both actively and passively, because there's a lot of things that are happening in the background outside of just cookies. In my experience, I've learned about beacons and all kinds of digital technology that can be added simply based on you having gone to websites and different pixels and all kinds of things that can grab different behavioral data. So again, it might not necessarily identify you as an individual, but it is grabbing different information about, okay, well, if you've gone here and you've gone here and you've gone here, now we can build a profile, and anyone who has done anything similar, we can have a better idea of what their habits and behaviors might be. So a VPN is one of the ways in which not only can you protect yourself from a lot of you are running a business or any type of organization, it's another way that you're adding a level of security for the data that you have as well.
Okay. Wow. All right.
And if you want to watch TV shows in other countries, get a VPN.
There you
go. Okay. All right. Another question here. Krishwana, and again, I hope you get your name right. Again, if it's my head, not my heart. And also, family, do you want Monifa back? So I'm going to put that out now.
Come on, that's automatic, man. We have to figure out her calendar. Like,
there's a number of things going on in my alleged mind right now to have Monifa back, and also hail up to her partner Susie. Susie is like, they're great together, but Susie never stays in Toronto for right now for more than a few days. She's always traveling all around the place. So, good, and people. I'm gonna put it out. If no one contacts Manifa, I'm gonna be very disappointed. I have purposely put her contact information up on the screen. I've left it there. Notice I haven't put the title up there because if you don't contact her, I gotta wonder what's going on, because I know most of you do stuff online.
Well, I was curious, when people go to your site, are they able to get like a self audit or a report that they can download? Like,
so you know what? You keep your mouth quiet, because I'm going to talk to Manifa offline. Maybe that's something we can offer people who subscribe to the Discord channel. La.
No, listen, everybody needs to audit what they're doing. Like that.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. The lady work hard. She work hard. We'll see.
So, just speaking to that, actually, one of the reasons that our website actually doesn't offer any of those features, frankly, if you go to our website, you'll see that we don't even offer you to the ability to sign up for a newsletter or anything like that. We don't collect any information through our website, actively or inactively, and that's simply because the position that we take on privacy, we're not collecting any of that information. If you do want to reach out to us, you have the ability to do so, and then we'll take the steps from there. But we are not we're not gathering any of that stuff, so we can't
practice what you preach. Practice what you preach.
We are truly, the only thing we collect is business contact information. That is all.
There you go. So, Krishwana, what would next question? What measure would you suggest we take to protect how information from going out there and to ensure privacy? I think you've answered some of that, but is there anything else you want to add on?
I would say also just be very mindful of what you share on any social media platforms. And this goes to also on the security side. You know, a lot of people will share their home address and, you know, the fact that they're going on vacation and now you're out of town. So, you know, you're letting everybody know when they can rob you. And I mean, I guess that's what insurance is for. But it's important that we're just mindful about what information we put out there in public spaces and how that information can be used.
And to piggyback that, I've seen insurance push back on claims because a person put too much information on their social media that allowed bad things to happen. So you might have insurance, but if you're willy-nilly with your info,
you got to read the fine print for that too.
Well, and this is interesting because Wayne has another question, and he's involved in insurance and business insurance. But Wayne has a question here, another one. How are you leveraging AI for your lower valued offerings? Is AI a threat or opportunity?
Personally, great, Wayne, again, thank you so much for all the great questions. Personally, I do see AI as an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity for us to leverage technology to actually help with some tasks that, you know, you might not even have as your expertise. So something that I know I've leveraged it for when it comes to drafting social media posts. I don't, like, I'm not a marketer. That's not my thing. I don't have the creative gene. My husband, however, does have a company where it requires social media marketing. So rather than hire a marketer, I have leveraged AI. I've given it the prompts that let it know what type of business, what angle I want to take in terms of what that social media post looks like. And then it will draft that content for me. And then that content goes into the Facebook platform for his business. So that's how I'm currently leveraging it. I know there's like tons of different uses for AI. And again, I don't see it as a threat. What I do recommend for people who are using AI is simply just that. It is artificial intelligence. It is machine learning. It is large language models. It's important that if we're going to be using it, we're using systems that have at least addressed the inherent biases that can find their way into this technology, right? You want to make sure that you have reviewed what are the biases and blind spots that can exist. You also want to make sure that you have accurate data that's going into these models, right? Like if your data is flawed, your entire mechanism is flawed. So you want to make sure that you're actually using technology that has quality data. regardless of how that data is being ingested, if it doesn't have the right information, it's not going to spit out the right answers for you. So it can definitely be an opportunity. And I think that we've barely even scratched the surface of what that real opportunity is. But again, you want to make sure that you're checking it for its biases, and that's we're using accurate data.
Okay, still more questions. Sorry to tell you about it. Some comments too. Hayden says, thank you for your integrity. There is so little of it in this industry and so many other industries. Dr. Tachi. Now, why would you ask that, Dr. Vibe? Of course we want Manifa Brooks. Kim, yes. Oh, you got a fan club too. Yes, Manifa, come back. Manifa, not Monica. Monica was a singer. All right. Oh, Dr. Tachi says, oh, keep your mouth quiet, Ryan. See, she knows what I'm talking about. Hayden says, Dr. Bob, you're asking if Manifa should be back. I'm starting to be concerned about you, sir.
Right. Thank you. Exactly.
Kim says, Manifa, darn spell check. And also Samantha, is the sky blue? Absolutely. Her and her business partner need to be back.
Yes. Nice.
Okay. And there's still questions to answer. So I'm just catching up with the comments, by the way. So this is, okay. So, okay. Dr. Tati question. With regard to the website, does there need to be an offer of some type to require an email?
So this is for the capturing of email addresses on websites? Yes,
I believe that's piggyback. Yes.
So it's not that there needs to be an offer, but you need to explain why you're collecting it. How are you going to use that information? So I believe that this should be a twofold strategy. When you are collecting email on your website, there should be something that explains how you intend to use that information. So that would be considered a just-in-time notice. And separate of all of that, you should make sure that in your actual privacy policy, it speaks to what are your retention policies, your deletion processes, what are all the information sets that you will be collecting. But at the very spot of collection, when you are getting that email, you need to make sure that you are explaining why you want it, what you will use it for, even if it's a future use, give an idea of what it's going to be used for, and provide people the ability to opt out or just remind them that they can unsubscribe at any time.
Okay, next question from Dr. Tachi. What do they mean by, quote, strictly necessary, unquote, cookies? I see that all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so you will see strictly necessary cookies, which are the ones that would make the site operational. As an example, when I think about strictly versus the optional cookies, if you go onto a website and maybe it's a website that you frequent often, one of the cookies might be something that allows them to save your login credentials for you so that you don't have to keep putting your login credentials in. That would be an optional cookie. Whereas a necessary cookie would be something that keeps that site functional. So maybe it's something that even just counts how many people have gone to that site. It's not something that is like actually identifying you as an individual, but that is a cookie that just identifies that you have visited the site. Another example of a necessary cookie would be maybe it's like a referral-based system. So your access to that link is based on having gone to a previous website before and you clicked on their link to get to this new site. So that necessary cookie would be tracking where you came from, because there could be something that they have to pay for, every time somebody lands on my site as having gone to your site. So they would need to know that information because it's part of the function. It's not that they need to identify you as an individual, but they just need to know that I came from site A and landed on site B. So that would be a necessary cookie versus an optional cookie, again, would be, they don't need to save your login credentials. That can be optional.
All right. Mm-hmm. We're getting down to it. Well, now something just came up again. So here we go. Next question. Kim Whitley. Hello, Kim. Does VPN help with logging into airport internet or any Wi-Fi?
Yes. So and again, this is twofold. So this is why I say you definitely want to make sure you have VPN, but that you also have some type of antivirus software, because those two things are going to be different. The VPN is what allows you to surf anonymously, but you need antivirus or some type of other protection to make sure that you're not opening yourself up to anything malicious. Ideally, I always tell people that when it comes to public Wi-Fi, you want to be very careful. What I have seen bad actors do, so let's just say the Wi-Fi says Pearson Airport. They could create a Wi-Fi that says Pearson Airport 1, which is not the legitimate Pearson Airport Wi-Fi. That is one completely and totally hosted by a bad actor who has malicious intent. They want you to log on to their network so that they can have access to your information based on, where you're surfing. Because you could maybe go into your email or maybe go into your online banking as an example, right? So these are things that you want to just be very cautious of anytime you are using a public Wi-Fi. Never just log into something random, please. I can't, I sometimes people are just looking for a connection sometimes, and they'll just click on anything that looks open. Definitely want to make sure that it is a secure Wi-Fi, even if it is a public one. Use VPNs always, and definitely make sure that you look into some type of security antivirus functionality that can identify and block malicious software and attempts.
Wonderful.
And so you don't have to, be an ambassador for any specific company, but I'm curious, VPNs that you like to use and antiviruses that you like, because we hear the McAfees and the Nortons, and I'm done with McAfee, however you say that, because it doesn't feel like it works. So I'm curious. I don't feel like it works, but I'm curious if there's ones that you use that you've seen that you recommend, or does that take like a one-to-one consultation?
Well, so for me personally, I have been using the TELUS package because they offer the Norton antivirus. And it has worked well for me, not just for my personal use, but also for business use. I found that their packages are incredibly reasonable. I actually just set it up on my mom's computer yesterday as well, because it gives you I think up to 10 devices or something like that.
Nice.
And I have found that it works quite well for me.
And also, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm going to, in the Discord group, I'm going to provide some sites that you should be very leery of that are used on a regular basis. And I'll give one or two before we end up here. But there's one last question. Believe it or not, we've got through it. William, from my days on Blab, is Amazon truthful when they say affiliate cookies last for 30 to 90 days, or do they keep collecting info on things like user habits and search history? Asking as a consumer first and affiliate marketer second.
So how long they keep the cookies, remember that will be completely separate from how long they are keeping your user history for things that you have purchased. So the cookie data, I would say they can be trusted as far as how long they are keeping your cookie data, because it doesn't have any value after a certain period of time either, right? The cookie data's value is based on timeliness. So because they're trying to get you to do things like now in this moment. So that data has to be more real time, but that is completely separate from how long they are keeping other data sets, such as, your purchase history. And then the other thing to always be cautious of, so when companies tell you that they only keep your data for a particular period of time, definitely check their fine print. It will be listed privacy. The line will usually say something along the lines of anonymized data is no longer considered personal information. So after whatever their retention period is, the 30 days, 90 days, they may de-identify that information so that it's no longer linked to you as a person. But it doesn't mean that they aren't keeping that data now that it is considered de-identified. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of regulators around the world right now are also taking a look at how are we defining de-identified or anonymized information. If I de-identify something, but there is still a risk that I can re-identify you as an individual, is it really de-identified? So like there's a lot of debate around whether or not you're still keeping personal information if you claim to have de-identified it or anonymized it. But that is usually what companies and organizations do, is that after whatever they have said is their time frame, they will de-identify it so that they can hang on to it. But since it's no longer considered personal information, technically you can't make the claim that they have kept your information longer than they said they would.
Wow.
And people, if you missed the debate, it was on CPAC, just in case.
Yes, it was.
Oh my
yes,
goodness.
It was.
Well, family, I think we're gonna call it. Oh, and Wayne, excellent. You're okay. So a few things. Fitness IQ Cam says Norton. It's NOTON over McAfee, and the Norton is offered by TELUS.
Yeah, they have a great package.
They have a great package. Wayne Harris, I was going to make this. Bitdefender is very good free. It's a free service. Bitdefender is, and because Bitdefender, that's what I use. There's more stuff I'm going to use in consultation with Monifa Brooks that I'm going to be using also. So I think, yes, Norton. Oops, yes, that is it. I think that is a wrap today. That was, man, a fast and furious.
Thank you.
Monifa, do you have any final? Oh, what are 2 or 3 sites that many of us use on a regular that you have to be very leery of? I have one in my head. I think we discussed this yesterday, but there's one that's really bad with privacy that many of us, especially who do online meetings, should be very leery of. Which one is that one?
So, and it's one that comes up a lot in privacy discussion, especially as we're talking about AI, but you'll see a lot of discussion around Zoom and how they are collecting and using information, and how that information can also be used to train their AI models. So when we talk about, just being aware of how organizations are using your information when you sign up for their platforms, that's definitely a great example.
Yeah, usability. I'm not, and then and the stuff I've read and seen about they've had a number of privacy breaches since they became popular during the pandemic and post-pandemic. So, again, if you join the Discord group, I'm going to put some apps that people may use on a regular basis, and maybe in consultation with Monifa, she may provide some of the things that you should be aware of. But Zoom is, sorry if anyone who's got Zoom shares, your site is not nice. Like the privacy breaches are just, again, Wayne, this is a good way to end off with Monifa Lee's. Public Wi-Fi is like a public toilet. Protect yourself. You don't know who was last on it. I think that's a great.
That is a great line.
That is a great, and that is coming from Wayne Harris, who's on the first Friday of every month on the Morning Vibe, who had at least 20 plus years in cybersecurity, selling it to C-level companies. So you see that he hasn't disagreed with anything that Monifa has said. Hello.
Yes.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Monifa, thank you so much.
Thank you both for having me. Great discussion.
Love the great.
Great opportunity. Thank you.
And you see, the masses want you back, so we're gonna chat. I've got some ideas, and also Dr. Tachi wants you on her show too. So I think that you've got, if your visibility you wanted, you got it, and more to come. So to you and your family, and to Susie and her family, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and also make sure you give yourselves grace.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank
you. Bye-bye. All right, man. Whew.
Love that conversation.
Woo. Woo. And Fitness IQ, because yes, come back please to Monifa. So the line is growing longer. Also, Faces by Purna says, love it. Yes, Faces, I got your email. I'll be responding to you in the next day or so. And we have to nail down a date before Christmas time. So that is that. Ryan, what'd you think about today's conversation? Epic?
Yeah, it's must know information that we typically just gloss over So I was glad that she was able to shine light and in a way that's digestible so that we can start taking data privacy seriously. So love that.
So and we didn't even get about private. I missed a question from, oh my goodness, from Divine Right. Manifa, you're in the back room. Are you available to come back on for a sec? Okay, she's nodded her head because I don't want to leave any question not answered. Let me find the question. Because I don't want Divine Right upset at me.
Yes.
Especially because she'll never come to Canada now. Okay. So we're going to bring Manifa back on for one last question. So we'll bring her back up. And this is a good question. Is there a way to save all your passwords somewhere safely and not having to change them every 5 seconds?
Right.
So one of the things and thank you for the question, Divine Right. So I tell my best friend all the time, it's important to have different passwords for different things. You never want to use the same. There are different tools that you can use to save your passwords, types of keychains, electronic keychains. What I have personally started using for my passwords are phrases, because that is easier for me to remember as opposed to having to write things down. Use phrases that have a mix of letters, numbers, capitals, lowercase, as well as symbols. That way, when you think about what is the password that you're trying to remember, it's something that can be triggered for you easily. That doesn't necessarily require you even having to write things down, because again, whether you're using some type of safe or password system electronically to keep it, if you forget that password, like where are you writing down that password, right? Like there's
And also too, you got to be careful. There are some good online ones, but I think, again, I'll put this up in the Discord group. I think one of them called LastPass has been hacked. They had a
and that's the other thing I was going to say, is that you also have to think about, okay, if you are going to use some type of electronic service for this, you have to know that no matter how good it is, there are risks that come with that as well, right? And I mean, just as good as you think it is, I'm sure the hackers think it's just equally as good. So they know they want access to it, so they're going to put even more resources into it. And if we know how many, how much people and resources we have in some of what we consider to be larger companies, know that like actual criminal organizations, like they're staffed, okay? They are staffed, they are qualified people who are incredibly smart. And like their full-time job is trying to get access to your information, right? So that's why for me, I do try to go more with passphrases as opposed to passwords. That way, when I am on whatever site it is, I know what that passphrase is that's going to trigger me. I use different passphrases. And again, I'm using combinations of letters and numbers and symbols and all of it, just to make sure that it's not easily guessable.
Okay, one last question and we'll definitely go. How often should we change our passwords? Your suggestion?
I usually go with 30 to 60 days. I'm like, to me, that can be excessive. I know for some, like, and it really also depends on, what are you using, right? Like for me, like my bank passwords are definitely the ones that I change more frequently, simply because, especially when it comes to multi-factor authentication, if somebody has your cell phone as an example, or, has mimicked your card, then they can have ways to get into things. So I definitely move that frequency around depending on what the platform is. But yes, I do try to make sure that I'm changing those frequently.
And Fitnet's IQ goes, oh, okay. And she goes, 30 to 60 days.
Right.
Awful inspired, great conversation. And there we go. Jamila Neem says, great conversation. Manifa provided valuable and informative information to secure and protect our information. Thank you. Great discussion. Now we're going to let you go. Take care. You. All right.
Awesome.
Boy, and I know you got to go.
Yes, sir.
All right, because it's the bottom of the hours of the second hour, so you got to run. We'll see you on Friday, or we'll chat. Well, I may see you. Well, I'm sure we're going to be at a table somewhere.
Possibly tonight.
Okay. All right. So we'll catch you a little later. You take care, my man.
Thank you.
All right. Be well. All right, family. We are done. We are done. This is it. Great song by Kenny Loggins, by the way. This is it. One of my motivation songs. All right, everybody. Thank you for making this an epic conversation today. What? Okay, so a few last things just to make people informed. I just want to give me a second here. Okay. FYI, coming up on this Friday's show, we'll be talking to Tamari Katosa, who is a tenured professor and guest, talking about black men sexuality and erotic racism. That is coming up on Friday. So if you're subscribing, you'll see a notification coming up in the next 24 to 36 hours. Other things, Buy Blacks, Black Restaurant Week starts today, runs till the 26th. There's a website address. Please check it out. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, follow Ryan on any of the social media platforms that he's on. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I host, please email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And finally, join the Morning Vibe Discord group, because I'm even put some of my veggie recipes up there, my vegan recipes up there for you. You may want to try, but I'm going to speak with Manifa and see if she'd be happy to share some information, some go-to information about privacy, online privacy. And yes, we will have her back. That is why I'm ending this right now, so I can go chat with her to see if we can make this a somewhat regular conversation, because the questions were flying today. All right. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network on Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan O'Neal Knight on YouTube and LinkedIn. So before we leave, I see more comments, so I'm going to try to get them all in. Okay. Oh, well, Kim, thank you. Your first time here and you loved it. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. If you're up to it, please subscribe. We have epic conversations all the time, Monday and Friday mornings, 9 a.m. with Ryan. And then Sunday afternoons, I host Black Canada Talking, featuring Black Canadians. And then Saturday evenings at 9 p.m. we have primetime Saturdays with Aisha and Lala giving their takes of what's going on politically and socially in America. And yes, I forgot to mention that. Happy belated International Men's Day. International Men's Day was yesterday, November 19th. And I didn't see a lot about it on a lot of social media channels. So yes, thank you so much. And Dr. Tachi, great show. I'll be in touch with you most definitely. And want to promote, last week, Dr. Tachi and Dr. Alicia Watkins were on the Dr. Vibe Show talking about, should we pay attention to celebrity relationships? Go check out that conversation. It was epic. Two of the smartest people I know together, dropping knowledge bombs. And Wayne Harris was saying, yes, LastPass. So be very wary if you use LastPass as a password saver. They have been breached a few times in the last little while. I know. I think it was LastPass is a single sign-on solution. Wayne, I'm going to do some research, because I heard that they had been breached. It may have been somebody else, but LastPass, and there are others out there. But I'm going to, as I do my best to put some information for everybody in the Discord group. If you email me, you get access to it. All right. So that's it. So this is the way we're going to kick it out today. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Wow. If it wasn't so cold outside, I'd go jog outside. Haven't jogged for a long time, but maybe maybe go for a walk outside. So God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. If you're in Canada, check out one of the restaurants for Buy Blacks, Black Restaurant Week. We'll be back on Friday. Subscribe, share, notify, all that stuff. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. We'll see ya.